The Imperial ambassador's shuttle landed on Earth's largest orbital station, with the kind of ceremony that was meant to impress. Thelkara stepped out in his finest robes, metals clinking against his chest. He had delivered ultimatums to 47 different species in his career. This would be number 48 and probably the easiest. Earth was nothing special. The Calreth Empire's intelligence reports made that clear. These humans had only figured out faster than light travel 40 years ago. They had 3 colony worlds, 3. The Empire controlled 847 star systems. The humans had 240 military ships. The Empire had 50,000. This was going to be simple. The station's command center was crowded with human military officers. Thelkara noted their primitive uniforms, their lack of proper ceremonial dress. These people clearly didn't understand the gravity of what was about to happen. At the center of the room stood Admiral Chen Wei, a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes. She commanded Earth's Third Fleet according to the intelligence briefing. Thelkara activated his translator and began the speech he had given so many times before. "Humans of Earth," he said, his voice amplified across every screen in the command center. "The Calreth Empire has observed your species. We have judged you. You will surrender all your territory to Imperial control. You will provide 30% of your population to serve as workers in Imperial facilities. You will dismantle all military forces immediately." He paused for effect. This was usually when the begging started. "You have 72 Earth hours to comply. Failure to surrender will result in the complete destruction of your military forces and the bombardment of your primary population centers. This is not a negotiation. This is the will of the Calreth Empire, undefeated in 6,000 years of expansion." The room was silent for a moment. Thelkara allowed himself a small smile. They were probably too terrified to respond. Then Admiral Chen started laughing. It wasn't a polite chuckle or a nervous giggle. It was a full, genuine laugh that came from deep in her chest. She put one hand on the table in front of her to steady herself. The laugh echoed through the command center, and then someone else started laughing. A younger officer near the communication station. Then another. Then a dozen more. Within seconds, hundreds of military officers were laughing. Some were trying to hide it behind their hands. Others just let it out. Thelkara felt his face grow hot. In 47 previous ultimatums, no one had ever laughed. Species begged. They cried. They tried to negotiate. They threatened. But they never laughed. "You dare mock the Calreth Empire?" he demanded. Admiral Chen wiped her eyes and took a deep breath, getting herself under control. The laughter in the room slowly died down, though Thelkara could see officers still grinning. "I'm sorry," Chen said, though she didn't sound sorry at all. "It's just, you have no idea what you've just done." "I have delivered the Emperor's justice," Thelkara said stiffly. "You should be." "You just declared war on humanity," Chen interrupted. "And you think you're going to win?" She shook her head, still smiling. "Ambassador, can I ask you a question?" Thelkara bristled at being interrupted, but he gestured for her to continue. "How many wars has the Calreth Empire fought?" "We have conquered 47 species across 12,000 years of glorious expansion," Thelkara said proudly. "Conquests, not wars." Chen's smile faded. "Let me tell you about humanity, Ambassador. In the past 500 years alone, we've fought 2 wars that nearly made us extinct. The first one killed 60 million people. The second one killed twice that number. We developed weapons that could destroy our entire planet, and we almost used them." She walked closer to him. "We know what real war looks like, Ambassador. We've lived it. We've survived it. And when we finally got off our planet and into space, we made a decision. We decided that we would never, ever be victims again." "Brave words from a species with 200 ships," Thelkara said. 240 ships, one of the younger officers called out. "Let's be accurate." This triggered another round of chuckling in the command center. Chen turned to her communications officer. "Send the ambassador's message to the council. Let them know we accept his timeline." "Accept?" Thelkara said. "You accept slavery?" "No," Chen said. "We accept the 72-hour countdown. We'll see you when it's done, Ambassador. You're dismissed." The casual dismissal stung worse than the laughter had. Thelkara drew himself up to his full height. "You will regret this. The Grand Fleet will arrive and your planet will burn." "Maybe," Chen said. "Or maybe you'll regret giving us 72 hours to prepare." Time will tell. Thelkara turned and strode from the command center, his robes swirling behind him. The humans had made their choice. They would learn, as all the others had learned. The Kalreth Empire always won. As soon as the ambassador's shuttle departed, the laughter in the command center died completely. Chen turned to her staff, and her expression was serious now. All right, people. We have 3 days. Activate War Protocol Omega. I want every ship we have in position. Contact the Council and tell them to begin full mobilization. Ma'am, one officer said. We're really doing this? Fighting the entire Kalreth Empire. Chen looked at the young man. They didn't give us a choice. They want to make us slaves. They want to dismantle everything we've built. She shook her head. 40 years ago, when we developed FTL technology, we knew this day might come. We've been preparing for it since. She pulled up a display showing the solar system. Red markers indicated human fleet positions. Blue markers showed the trajectory where the Imperial fleet would likely arrive. Every colony, every station, every ship we've built for the past 40 years has been designed with one purpose: to make sure humanity survives. We've spent 68% of our total economic output on defense. We've built shipyards and hidden asteroid facilities. We've developed weapons specifically designed to fight enemies with superior technology and numbers. The display shifted, showing something new. More red markers began appearing throughout the outer solar system, hundreds of them, then thousands. The ambassador's intelligence was correct about one thing, Chen said. We do have 240 military ships in active service. What they don't know about are the 2,000 ships we've been building in secret for the past 20 years. The command center erupted in excited chatter. Chen held up a hand for silence. The Kalreth Empire has never lost a war because they've never fought an enemy that was truly prepared. They conquer primitive species or overwhelm them with numbers. But we're not primitive and we're not unprepared. She looked around at her officers, these men and women who had trained their entire careers for a war they hoped would never come. The Empire thinks this will be easy. They think we'll surrender or die quickly. They're wrong. We're going to show them what happens when you threaten humanity. We're going to show them what 40 years of preparation looks like. And when it's over, they're going to regret that they ever found Earth. She turned back to the display. 72 hours. Get our people ready. This is what we've been training for. This is what we've been building toward. Let's make sure these Imperial bastards never forget what happened here. As the officers dispersed to their stations, Chen stayed at the display, watching the fleet markers move into position. She thought about the ambassador's speech about slavery and submission. The Kalreth Empire didn't understand. They couldn't understand. They had never faced extinction. They had never rebuilt from ashes. They had never looked into the void and decided to keep fighting anyway. They were about to learn. Grand Admiral Zexthor stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Infinite Victory, and felt satisfied. Behind him stretched a fleet of 5,000 warships, each one a masterpiece of Imperial engineering. The largest fleet he had ever commanded personally, though he suspected he wouldn't need half of them. The humans had refused to surrender. Zexthor had expected nothing else. Species with only 40 years in space always thought they had a chance. They never did. We will arrive at their Neptune marker in 1 hour, his tactical officer reported. Intelligence shows 38 human vessels in position. They appear to be attempting a defensive formation. Zexthor almost laughed. 38 ships against his vanguard of 800. The humans were either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Probably both. Maintain current approach, he ordered. Full intimidation protocol. I want every weapon system active and visible. Let them see what they're facing. The hour passed quickly. Zexthor watched as Neptune grew larger on the view screen, a cold blue sphere orbiting in the outer darkness. The human ships appeared as small dots on his tactical display. They're not retreating, his tactical officer said, sounding surprised. Sir, they're actually accelerating toward us. Toward us? Zexthor leaned forward. That made no sense. No rational commander would charge directly at a superior force. Are they attempting to surrender? Negative, sir. Weapon systems are active. They're attacking. Zexthor couldn't help himself. He laughed. Very well. If they want to die quickly, we'll accommodate them. All ships, weapons free. Destroy the human fleet. The Imperial vanguard moved forward in perfect formation. 800 ships against 38. This would be over in minutes. The humans opened fire first. Zexthor saw the tactical display light up with indicators, But they looked wrong. The signatures weren't showing energy weapons or missiles. They were just objects moving very, very fast. What are those? He demanded. The answer came in the form of impacts. The leading Imperial ship simply exploded. No shields flickering, no armor ablating, just instant catastrophic destruction. One moment a warship was there, the next it was an expanding cloud of debris. They're firing solid projectiles. The tactical officer shouted. Tungsten rounds at 0.3% light speed. Our shields aren't stopping them. Zexthor gripped his command chair. All ships evasive maneuvers. Return fire. But the humans were already firing again. And again. And again. Their ships seemed to vomit projectiles, thousands of them, all moving at speeds that made them nearly impossible to track. Imperial ships died by the dozen, then by the 100. Shields are designed for energy weapon, the tactical officer was saying, his voice panicked. These kinetic projectiles are just punching straight through. An alarm blared. Zexthor looked up just in time to see one of the human ships launch something else. Missiles, thousands of them from a single ship. The swarm spread out like a silver cloud, each missile independently tracking an Imperial vessel. Point defense, shoot them down, Zexthor ordered. The Imperial ships tried. Their automated defenses fired frantically at the incoming missiles. They destroyed hundreds, but there were thousands more and they kept coming. They slammed into Imperial hulls, each one carrying a nuclear warhead that could vaporize a city block. Casualties? Zexthor demanded. 200 ships destroyed, 300 more damaged, and we still haven't destroyed a single human vessel. Zexthor felt cold fear creeping into his chest. This wasn't how battles worked. The superior force was supposed to win. That was the natural order of things. But his ships were dying and the humans were barely scratched. All ships, full assault. Concentrate fire on the nearest human vessel. The Imperial fleet focused its weapons on one human destroyer. Energy beams, missiles, and plasma bolts converged on the small ship. For a moment, Zexthor thought they had it. The human ship exploded in a brilliant flash. Target destroyed. Someone cheered. Then the cheering died. The human ship's wreckage was still moving, still on course, and it was still firing. Automated systems, Zexthor realized. The humans had set their ships to fight even after the crew was dead. Sir, we've lost 1,400 ships, the tactical officer reported. His hands were shaking. Engagement time, 6 minutes. 6 minutes. In 6 minutes, the humans had destroyed or disabled nearly a quarter of his vanguard, and his fleet had killed exactly 3 human ships. All vessels retreat to Jupiter, Zexthor ordered. The words tasted like poison in his mouth, but he was no fool. If they stayed here, they would all die. Emergency FTL jump now. The Imperial fleet scattered, ships jumping away in random directions. Some didn't make it. The human railguns picked them off even as they tried to flee. By the time Zexthor's flagship reached Jupiter's orbit, he had lost 1,800 ships, 1,800 warships, in less than 10 minutes of combat. He sat heavily in his command chair and stared at the tactical display. The human fleet hadn't pursued. They just sat there near Neptune waiting. Get me a secure channel to Imperial High Command, Zexthor said quietly. They need to know what just happened. The response from High Command came 3 hours later. Zexthor stood at attention as the Emperor himself appeared on the view screen. The Emperor looked exactly as his statues portrayed him, ancient, dignified, and absolutely certain of his power. You retreated, the Emperor said. His voice was cold. Your Majesty, the humans have weapons we did not anticipate. Their kinetic projectiles bypass our shields entirely. Their missiles overwhelm our defenses. In 6 minutes of combat, we lost 1,800 ships. 1,800 ships. The Emperor's expression didn't change. Against how many human vessels? 38, Your Majesty. The silence stretched for a long moment. Then the Emperor spoke again. Grand Admiral, are you telling me that 38 primitive human ships destroyed 1,800 Imperial warships? Yes, Your Majesty. I recommend we reconsider our approach. These humans fight differently than any species we've encountered. They don't rely on shields or energy weapons. They use raw kinetic force and overwhelming firepower. Our standard tactics are— I will not reconsider, the Emperor interrupted. I will not allow a species of primitives to humiliate the Empire. You will receive reinforcements. 15,000 additional ships are being dispatched immediately. Grand Fleet Admiral Korath will take personal command of the operation. Zexthor felt his stomach drop. Korath was a legend, the Empire's greatest military commander, but he was also known for his brutality. Your Majesty, with respect even with reinforcements, You will destroy them, Grand Admiral. You will burn their planets. You will make an example that will echo across the galaxy for 10,000 years. Is that understood? Yes, Your Majesty. The Emperor's image vanished. Zexthor stood alone on his bridge, surrounded by officers who looked just as shaken as he felt. They had always won. For 6,000 years, the Kalreth Empire had never lost a war. They had never even lost a major battle. Until today. Sir, his tactical officer said quietly, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet. Put it through. Admiral Chen's face appeared on the screen. She looked calm, almost pleasant. Grand Admiral Zexthor, I hope you made it back safely. I wanted to let you know that we've picked up your escape pods. Your survivors will be treated well according to our laws of war. You've picked up our survivors? Zexthor repeated. Of course. Just because we're at war doesn't mean we're barbarians. Chen smiled slightly. I also wanted to thank you. Thank me? You gave us a good test of our weapon systems. We've been building them for 40 years, and this was the first real combat. We're pleased with the results. There are a few things we need to adjust, but overall very satisfactory. Zexthor felt anger surge through him. You think this is over? The Emperor is sending 20,000 more ships. You can't possibly, and we know, Chen interrupted. We intercepted your communication. 20,000 ships. That's about 10% of your total fleet, isn't it? Must be making your Emperor nervous to commit that many resources to such a small target. You will be crushed, Zexthor said. Maybe, Chen agreed. But even if we lose, we're going to take a lot of you with us. And the galaxy is going to see what happened here. They're going to know that the invincible Kalreth Empire lost 1,800 ships to 38 human vessels. How do you think that's going to look? She leaned closer to the camera. Grand Admiral, you should have accepted our surrender 72 hours ago. Now it's too late. Now we're at war, and humans are very, very good at war. The transmission ended. Zexthor sat back down in his command chair and looked at the tactical display. Jupiter hung there, a massive sphere of storms and gas. Beyond it lay Earth, and beyond that, 2,000 more human ships that were emerging from the outer system. He had thought this would be easy. He had been very, very wrong. Grand Fleet Admiral Korath was not a patient man, but he was a thorough one. He spent 3 days studying the recordings from Zexthor's disaster at Neptune. He watched the human ships move, watched their weapons fire, watched Imperial vessels die in ways that shouldn't have been possible. Then he began planning how to kill them all. His fleet arrived in the Sol system with 20,000 warships, the largest single fleet deployment in Imperial history. Korath stood on his flagship's bridge and felt the weight of it. The Emperor had given him simple orders: win, show no mercy. Make humanity an example. He intended to do exactly that. Tactical analysis, he ordered. His chief tactical officer brought up displays showing the Sol system, Earth, Mars, 3 small colony worlds in nearby systems. The human fleet positions were marked in red. The humans have approximately 1,800 combat-ready vessels defending Earth, the officer reported. Another 400 are positioned around Mars, small garrisons at their colonies. Our intelligence suggests they're using Mars as a major shipbuilding facility. Korath studied the display. Zexthor had made a simple mistake. He had attacked directly with overwhelming numbers, assuming the humans would be intimidated. But the humans didn't intimidate. They adapted. We will split our forces, Korath decided. 5,000 ships will attack Mars. Another 5,000 will target their colony world simultaneously. The remaining 10,000 will come with me to Earth. We attack all targets at once. Force them to divide their defenses. Sir, the humans will know we're coming, his tactical officer said. Their sensor systems are quite advanced. Let them know, Korath said. Let them panic and scramble. Let them realize they can't defend everything at once. The orders went out. The Imperial fleet divided into 3 groups and began moving to their targets. Korath watched the human response with interest. Their ships were moving, but not in panic. They were repositioning with precision and discipline. These humans, he thought, were going to be interesting to break. The Battle of Mars began first. 5,000 Imperial ships dropped out of FTL in Mars orbit and found themselves facing 400 human defenders. The odds were excellent. Korath watched the battle feeds from his flagship. The humans didn't try to stop the Imperial fleet from reaching Mars. Instead, they fell back to specific positions around the planet. forming a defensive sphere that seemed thin and easy to break. "Foolish," Korath's tactical officer muttered. "They're giving us the orbital space." The Imperial fleet moved forward, confident. They began targeting Mars's orbital facilities, the massive shipyards that built human warships. That's when Mars itself opened fire. Korath watched in shock as railgun rounds erupted from the planet's surface, hundreds of them. The entire planet was weaponized, massive magnetic accelerators built into mountains and valleys, all firing simultaneously. The rounds tore through Imperial formations, shredding ships that weren't prepared for ground-based attacks. "They've turned their entire planet into a weapon platform," someone whispered. The 400 human ships weren't trying to stop the Imperial fleet from reaching Mars. They were herding them into kill zones where the planet's weapons could hit them most effectively. And in orbit, human mines that had seemed like random debris suddenly activated, swarming Imperial ships and detonating. The battle for Mars lasted 8 hours. The Imperial fleet eventually secured orbital control, but at a cost. 2,300 ships destroyed. The shipyards were heavily damaged but not destroyed. The humans had evacuated 98% of their personnel before the battle even started. Korath stared at the casualty reports. Mars was supposed to be the easy target. The attacks on the human colonies went better, at least at first. Small garrison forces were quickly overwhelmed, but the colonies themselves were evacuated by the time the Imperial fleets arrived. The humans had abandoned their settlements rather than defend them. They took their people, destroyed anything useful, and left empty buildings behind. "They're not even trying to hold territory," Korath's tactical officer said, confused. Korath understood, though. The humans weren't fighting a traditional war. They were fighting for survival. Territory didn't matter. Ships didn't matter. Only their people mattered, and they were willing to sacrifice everything else to protect them. It made them unpredictable. It made them dangerous. Now came the main event. Earth itself. Korath's fleet of 10,000 ships approached Earth slowly and carefully. He had learned from Zexthor's mistakes. His ships stayed spread out, making it harder for human kinetic weapons to hit multiple targets. His point defense systems were enhanced and ready for missile swarms. His tactical computers had been programmed with every trick the humans had used. The human defense fleet met them at the orbit of Earth's moon. 1,800 ships in a defensive sphere around their homeworld. Korath noted their formation with approval. They were disciplined, well-positioned, and clearly ready to die. "All ships," Korath broadcast to his fleet. "Begin the assault. Show no mercy. Show no hesitation. The Emperor is watching." The Imperial fleet surged forward. This time, they were ready for the human tactics. When the railgun rounds came, the Imperial ships were already evading, their computers predicting trajectories and moving before the rounds could hit. When the missile swarms launched, enhanced point defense systems shot them down by the thousands. But the humans had learned too. The first wave of human ships didn't try to fight at range. They accelerated directly toward the Imperial fleet at maximum speed. Their reactors pushed beyond safety limits. Korath realized what they were doing just a moment too late. "They're ramming," someone shouted. 20 human ships, each one moving at a significant fraction of light speed, plowed into Imperial formations. The impacts released as much energy as nuclear weapons. Ships on both sides vaporized instantly. The shockwaves disabled dozens more. "Kamikaze attacks," Korath muttered. These humans were willing to destroy their own ships, kill their own crews just to take down a few more Imperial vessels. But that wasn't all. The destroyed human ships had scattered debris across the battlefield. Debris that was still moving at high velocity. Imperial ships trying to maneuver suddenly found themselves flying through clouds of shrapnel that shredded their hulls. They're using their own destroyed vessels as weapons, his tactical officer said with something like, the battle raged for 19 hours. Korath committed more and more ships, pushing harder, accepting losses he never would have considered acceptable. The human fleet was dying, but they were dying slowly, and they were taking Imperial ships with them at a ratio that made Korath's stomach turn. By the end, the human defense fleet was shattered. Only about 700 ships remained, and they were retreating to defensive positions around Earth itself. But Korath's fleet had lost 4,700 ships. Nearly half his force. He had won, but it felt like losing. "Sir, we can push forward," his tactical officer said. "Earth's defenses are broken. We can bombard their cities now. Korath looked at the tactical display. Yes, he could attack Earth directly, but his fleet was damaged and exhausted. His ships needed repairs. His crews were terrified and demoralized. He had started with 10,000 ships and now had barely 5,000 combat-ready vessels. And then the reports started coming in from across the solar system. Sir, multiple Imperial supply depots are under attack. Wormhole Gate Station is reporting human ships in their sector. The gate is destroyed, sir. The humans destroyed our gate. Korath felt his blood run cold. The Wormhole Gate. It was their only way to bring in reinforcements or supplies from Imperial space. Without it, they would have to rely on conventional FTL, which would take years to reach the nearest Imperial outpost. The humans had trapped them. He pulled up system-wide tactical displays and finally saw the full picture. While he had been focused on Earth, 1,200 human ships had been moving through the outer system in stealth. They had attacked his supply lines, his logistics bases. Everything he needed to sustain a long campaign. How many supplies do we have? Korath demanded. At current consumption rates, 6 months, sir. Maybe 8 if we ration severely. 6 months. He had 20,000 ships when he started. Now he had barely 8,000 that were fully functional. He was trapped in an enemy star system with limited supplies and no way to get reinforcements. Korath pulled up a communication channel and looked at Admiral Chen's tired face on the screen. Clever, he said. Chen shrugged. We knew we couldn't beat your entire fleet in a straight fight. So we changed the fight. Now you're trapped here with us, and we have all the supplies we need. How long do you think you can last? Long enough to destroy Earth, Korath said. Maybe, Chen agreed. But even if you do, you'll die here. All of you. Is destroying one planet worth losing 8,000 ships and their crews? Korath ended the transmission. He looked at his tactical displays, at his scattered and damaged fleet, at Earth hanging there like a blue marble just out of reach. He had come here to make an example of humanity. Instead, they were making an example of him. All ships, he ordered quietly. Regroup at Jupiter. We need to reconsider our strategy. As his flagship turned away from Earth, Korath allowed himself one moment of bitter honesty. The Kalreth Empire had never lost a war, but they had also never fought an enemy like this. An enemy that would sacrifice everything. Korath's fleet hung in Jupiter's orbit, like wounded animals huddling together for warmth. 3,300 ships remained combat-ready. The rest were destroyed or so badly damaged they were useless. His officers moved quietly through the flagship's corridors, speaking in whispers. The Imperial fleet that had never known defeat was learning what fear felt like. Korath stood alone in his command center, staring at tactical displays that offered no good options. The humans had blockaded them not with overwhelming force but with patience. Small groups of human ships lurked at the edge of sensor range, never attacking directly, just watching. Waiting, every few hours, a single human ship would dart in, fire a spread of railgun rounds from extreme range, and vanish before the Imperial fleet could respond. They weren't trying to destroy the fleet. They were bleeding it slowly. Death by 1,000 cuts. Sir, another supply depot has been destroyed, his logistics officer reported. That brings our reserve down to 4 months. 4 months. Korath calculated the numbers in his head. 4 months of supplies, trapped in a star system 8,000 light-years from home, surrounded by an enemy that was perfectly happy to wait them out. Options, he demanded from his senior staff. We could attempt to break through to Earth, his tactical officer suggested. One final assault with everything we have. If we take the planet, we can use it as leverage. They'll destroy it themselves before they let us have it, Korath said. He had fought enough battles to recognize that kind of resolve. These humans would rather see their homeworld burn than surrender. We could attempt to rebuild the wormhole gate, the chief engineer offered weakly. If we had 6 months and the right materials, we don't have 6 months, Korath interrupted. And the humans would destroy any construction site we established. The truth was obvious to everyone in the room, though no one wanted to say it out loud. They were beaten. The Empire's largest fleet, commanded by their greatest admiral, was trapped and dying slowly. A communication alert sounded. Korath saw it was a high-priority diplomatic channel from Imperial space. Put it through, he ordered. The face that appeared on the screen wasn't the Emperor. It was Ambassador Lyra, the Empire's chief diplomatic negotiator. She was old, careful, and known for being able to negotiate favorable terms even in difficult situations. Grand Fleet Admiral Korath, she said formally, I bring greetings from the Imperial Council and authorization to begin negotiations with the human government. Negotiations? Korath felt something twist in his chest. The Emperor ordered total victory. The Emperor has reconsidered, Narration said carefully. Your situation has been evaluated. The Council believes a diplomatic solution may be appropriate. Korath understood what she wasn't saying. The Empire was going to abandon him. They would negotiate his fleet's withdrawal, claim it was a strategic decision, and pretend this disaster had never happened. I see, he said quietly. And what terms are we offering? Complete withdrawal of all Imperial forces from Sol system, return to previous borders, formal apologies to the human government. In exchange, they will return our prisoners and allow our ships to leave peacefully. It was a surrender in everything but name. Korath felt something he had never experienced in 200 battles. Shame. Very well, Ambassador. You have my cooperation. Narishan's shuttle arrived at Earth's orbital station 2 days later. She stepped out expecting to meet with diplomats, to begin the delicate dance of negotiation that would save face for both sides. Instead, she met Admiral Chen in a room full of military officers. Ambassador, Chen greeted her politely. Welcome to Earth. Please sit. Narishan sat, placing her diplomatic credentials on the table between them. I am authorized to negotiate terms for the withdrawal of Imperial forces from your system. I believe we can reach an agreement that serves both our interests. Chen smiled slightly. I'm sure you believe that. But I'm afraid the situation has changed. Changed how? Chen activated a display. It showed a star map of Imperial space with hundreds of red dots scattered throughout. For the past 40 years, Chen explained, humanity has been building stealth probes and sending them into Imperial space. We know the location of every major shipyard you have, every fortress world, every critical supply route, every wormhole gate. Narishan felt her diplomatic composure crack slightly. You've been spying on us since you achieved FTL? We've been preparing, Chen corrected. We knew someone would eventually try to conquer us. We wanted to be ready. She zoomed in on specific systems. Right now, 2,400 human ships are positioned throughout Imperial space. They're in stealth, hidden near critical infrastructure. With one order, I can cripple your empire. You're bluffing, Narishan said, but her voice was uncertain. Chen pressed a button. The display changed to show live video feeds. Imperial shipyards, wormhole gates, supply depots, and near each one, barely visible, was a human ship. We call it the Scorched Galaxy Protocol, Chen said. If the Empire doesn't surrender unconditionally, we will systematically destroy your ability to maintain your civilization. Your shipyards will burn. Your gates will collapse. Your supply lines will be cut. It won't destroy your empire completely, but it will send you back centuries, maybe longer. Narishan stared at the displays. This couldn't be real. A species with only 40 years of FTL technology couldn't have accomplished this, but the evidence was right in front of her. This is insane, she whispered. You're threatening to destroy the most powerful empire in the galaxy. No, Chen said. You threaten to enslave us. We're just showing you the consequences. You can't seriously expect the Kalreth Empire to surrender to you. Why not? Chen leaned forward. You surrendered when you sent you here to negotiate. You just haven't admitted it yet. Narishan stood up, anger replacing shock. The Empire will never accept this. We will send more fleets. We will... You'll lose them too, Chen interrupted. Ambassador, let me be very clear. The Empire has 50,000 ships total. You've already lost 20,000 here. If you send more, we'll destroy them. And while you're focused on us, those 2,400 ships in your territory will be dismantling your civilization piece by piece. This is madness. This is war, Chen said simply. This is what happens when you threaten human extinction. We don't fight fair. We don't follow your rules. We fight to survive, and we'll do absolutely anything to make sure humanity continues to exist. She stood up and walked to the window, looking out at Earth hanging below. You want to know why we laughed when your ambassador delivered his ultimatum? It's because we knew this moment would come. We've spent 40 years preparing for it. Every ship, every weapon, every strategy we've developed has been designed for one purpose: to make sure that anyone who attacks us regrets it so completely that no one ever tries again. Narishan sank back into her chair. What do you want? Unconditional surrender. The Empire withdraws all forces from human space. You pay reparations for damages. You recognize human sovereignty over all our current and future territory. And most importantly, you leave us alone forever. The Emperor will never agree to this. Then we'll make him agree, Chen said. Look at the display, Ambassador. Look at those ships positioned throughout your empire. Every day the Emperor delays, we destroy one major Imperial facility. Just one, a shipyard here, a gate there. Day by day we'll dismantle everything you've built. That's terrorism. No, that's consequences. Chen turned back to face her. The Empire has spent 12,000 years conquering weaker species. You've never faced an enemy that could hurt you back. Until now. Narration looked at the star map again, at all those red dots scattered through Imperial space like a disease. I need to consult with my government, she said quietly. You have 48 hours, Chen said. After that, we start destroying shipyards. As Narration left the station, her mind was racing. She needed to make the Emperor understand. This wasn't like other wars. The humans weren't trying to conquer the Empire. They were trying to survive. And they had apparently been preparing for this fight since the moment they learned they weren't alone in the galaxy. Back in Jupiter orbit, Korath received word of the negotiations. He also received a private message from his tactical officer. Sir, I've been analyzing the human fleet movements. They're not maintaining the blockade as strongly anymore. If we were to make one final push toward Earth, we might be able to break through. Korath looked at the tactical displays. His officer was right. The human fleet was stretched thin, focused on preventing his escape rather than preventing an attack on Earth. He could do it. One final assault, he would die, and most of his fleet would die, but he could potentially destroy enough of Earth's infrastructure to claim some kind of victory. Admiral Chen is counting on you thinking exactly that, a voice said. Korath turned to see Ambassador Narration standing in his command center. She must have shuttled directly from Earth. What do you mean? He asked. She wants you to attack. She's hoping you will, because when you do, when you kill however many millions of humans you can reach, she'll have... The Treaty of Seoul was signed 3 weeks after Grand Fleet Admiral Korath made his decision. The ceremony took place on a neutral station built specifically for the occasion, positioned halfway between Earth and Jupiter. Representatives from both sides attended, along with observers from 17 other alien species who had heard rumors of what happened and wanted to see it for themselves. Ambassador Narration signed for the Kalreth Empire. Admiral Chen signed for humanity. The terms were harsh but not impossible. The Empire would withdraw all forces from human space immediately. Reparations would be paid over 20 years. Human sovereignty would be recognized and respected. And most importantly, the Kalreth Empire would never again threaten human territory or citizens. In exchange, humanity would stand down the Scorched Galaxy Protocol. The 2,400 ships hidden throughout Imperial space would return home. The surveillance would continue, but the weapons would be withdrawn. Korath attended the ceremony in full dress uniform, standing with his remaining officers. He watched as the documents were signed and felt something he couldn't quite name. Not quite shame. Not quite relief. Something in between. After the ceremony, Admiral Chen approached him. Grand Fleet Admiral, she said formally. Your fleet is free to depart. We've provided navigational data for the safest route back to Imperial space. You're letting us leave, Korath said. After everything. We never wanted to destroy you, Chen said. We just wanted you to leave us alone. Now you will. Korath studied her face. This small human woman who had orchestrated the defeat of the Empire's greatest fleet. How did you know? How did you know we would come? Chen smiled slightly. We didn't know you specifically would come, but we knew someone would. The galaxy is full of empires and species that think they can take whatever they want. We decided 40 years ago that we would never be victims. She paused. We learned that lesson the hard way on our own planet. Multiple times. Your species has fought itself, Korath said. Almost to extinction. Twice. Chen's expression grew distant. We know what war costs. We know what it means to lose everything. That's why we prepared so thoroughly. That's why we were willing to do anything to survive. Was it worth it? Korath asked. 23,000 human deaths. Entire colonies abandoned. Mars nearly destroyed. All to make a point. We didn't make a point, Chen corrected. We made a promise. The promise that humanity will survive no matter what. And yes, Grand Fleet Admiral, it was worth it. Korath nodded slowly. I believe I understand now. You fight differently because you think differently. To us, war is about conquest and glory. To you, war is about survival. Exactly, Chen said. And there's nothing more dangerous than a species fighting for survival. The remaining Imperial fleet departed Sol system the next day. Korath watched Earth recede on his view screen and knew he was watching the end of an era. The Kalrith Empire's 12,000 years of unchallenged expansion were over. News of the Treaty of Sol spread through the galaxy faster than light. Species that had cowered before the Empire suddenly found their courage. Within a month, 17 different alien civilizations reached out to Earth requesting diplomatic relations. Within 3 months, humanity had trade agreements with 43 species. The Xinthian Collective, which had been humanity's only alien trade partner before the war, immediately proposed a formal military alliance. They weren't alone. Species that had been conquered by the Empire generations ago now looked to humanity as an example of how to resist. Earth's Unified Council met to discuss humanity's new role in galactic affairs. Admiral Chen attended, though she had requested retirement multiple times. Each time she had been told the same thing, not yet. Humanity still needed her. We're being asked to lead a mutual defense pact, the Secretary General explained to the Council. 27 species want to join. They want human military protection and technology in exchange for trade and resources. We're not conquerors, one Council member objected. We fought this war to be left alone, not to become a galactic power. We don't have a choice, another argued. The Empire is weakened but not destroyed. Other powers will try to fill the vacuum. If we don't provide stability, there will be chaos. Admiral Chen listened to the debate for an hour before she finally spoke. We should accept, she said quietly. The room fell silent. Everyone turned to look at her. But only on our terms, she continued. We share our defensive technology with allied species. We help them build their own weapons, their own fleets. We teach them how to defend themselves, but we never ever use our military to conquer or intimidate. We become the shield, not the sword. The Terran Accord, the Secretary General said, testing the name. A defensive alliance, not an empire. Exactly, Chen said. We help others survive the same way we learned to survive. That way no species will ever have to face what we faced, what we almost became. The vote was unanimous. The Terran Accord was established 2 months after the Treaty of Sol. 27 species joined immediately. Within a year, that number grew to 49. 5 years passed. The Kalrith Empire didn't collapse, but it changed. The Emperor, who had ordered the attack on Earth, was forced to grant autonomy to many member worlds. Some left the Empire entirely and joined the Terran Accord. Others negotiated better terms for staying. The Empire that had once controlled 847 systems now controlled fewer than 600. More importantly, the Empire learned. New military doctrines were developed. New technologies researched. The arrogance that had led them to attack Earth was gone, replaced by a cautious respect. Not all Imperials accepted the new reality. Hardline factions still spoke of revenge, of rebuilding the fleet and attacking humanity again, but their voices grew quieter each year, especially as more stories spread about what humanity had done during the war. Grand Fleet Admiral Korath retired with what the Empire considered honor, given the circumstances. He had lost, but he had recognized when to stop fighting. That was worth something. He spent his retirement writing military history, including a detailed analysis of the Sol campaign titled The Species That Wouldn't Die. Ambassador Thelkara, who had delivered the original ultimatum, requested a meeting with Admiral Chen 5 years after the war ended. She agreed to see him at Earth's orbital station, the same place where he had first laughed at his threats. Admiral Chen, he said formally, thank you for meeting with me. Ambassador, she replied, I was surprised by your request. What can I do for you? Thelkara hesitated, then spoke carefully. I wanted to apologize. I came here 5 years ago with arrogance and ignorance. I threatened your entire species without understanding what I was really saying. I've spent the past 5 years studying human history, trying to understand what happened. And what did you learn? Chen asked. That you meant what you said. When you laughed at my ultimatum, it wasn't mockery. It was genuine surprise that anyone would be foolish enough to threaten you. He paused. You really would have destroyed us, wouldn't you? The Scorched Galaxy Protocol wasn't a bluff. No, Chen agreed. It wasn't a bluff. May I ask you something? Thelkara said. Why did you let us survive? You had us trapped. You could have destroyed the entire Imperial fleet. Why let us go? Chen was quiet for a moment, looking out at the ships moving through Earth's orbital space. Human vessels, alien vessels, all working together now. Because destroying you wasn't the goal, she finally said. Surviving was the goal. We wanted you to understand that attacking us was a mistake, that humanity couldn't be conquered or enslaved. Once you understood that, once the Empire signed the treaty, the war was over. Anything after that would have just been revenge, and revenge doesn't make us safer. Your species is remarkably practical, Thelkara said. We've had to be, Chen replied. We've made enough mistakes in our own history. We know what it costs to let anger drive your decisions. They stood together in silence for a moment, watching the ships move through space. The galaxy is changing, Thelkara observed. The Terran Accord is growing. Other species are building their own defenses, following your example. The old order is breaking down. Good, Chen said. The old order was built on big empires bullying small species. That needed to end. And what happens when humanity becomes too powerful? Thelkara asked. What happens when you're the big empire? Chen smiled. Then someone will need to stand up to us the same way we stood up to you. That's how it should work. No one species should dominate the galaxy. Everyone should have the right to exist without fear. Thelkara nodded slowly. I think I understand now. You're not trying to replace the Empire. You're trying to make sure no empire can do what we tried to do. Exactly. Admiral Chen retired officially 6 months later. She had served for 42 years, including 5 years of war preparation and 5 years of building the peace. She had earned her rest. At her retirement ceremony, she gave a short speech to the assembled officers and officials. When I joined Earth's military 42 years ago, we had just discovered FTL travel. We were alone in the galaxy, or so we thought. We were excited about exploration and discovery. Then we learned we weren't alone. We learned the galaxy was dangerous, full of species that would see us as resources to exploit or threats to eliminate.